Oh, hello, my fellow chess enthusiasts. We are back at it again with another epic and educational day of chess. And in today's episode, I'm going to show you what opening to play when you are not that great at chess openings. So, he said, hello, good luck. Hello, and good luck to yourself. So, we start with c6 no matter what. Because there's a chance we go into the Caro-Kann. Not really anymore, but, it is what it is. And so what we're generally going to do here is play just a super safe and easy to play opening, where the general idea is put my pawns. I think it's called the Slav defense. I'm not even 100% sure. I am so bad at the names of the openings. But we're going to lock my bishop outside of the pawn chain. If you see, I've got a beautiful structure of pawns. Now, he could have just simply gone for my light square bishop. Trading this off is such a good idea for me because literally, like I explained, we put so many pawns on light squares, so my dark square bishop is good and my light square bishop sucks. So we have the opportunity to trade it off into complete equality. And so this pawn push, it does work. He can also take here and try and have ideas of this. But now I think we're just going to go ahead and bring the knight. And so this pawn push, the general idea for it is if they capture, we take back with the bishop and we get to develop just for free, essentially. And we have a place to put our knight. This is the natural development square for our knight. So just like this knight, this is the natural development square for this knight. So it's hard to say, am I supposed to play this first or play this first or push forward or capture? It's hard to say. I mean, if we capture, he just comes in with this. If he captures with the pawn, it ruins this pawn structure slightly. I'm not sure if that's like good or bad for either of us, but we're going to just go for it. And if he attacks with the bishop, we're going to just develop our bishop. So easy to play. All of these opening principles are so easy to play. So if he takes with the bishop, we're just essentially going to try and rush into an endgame. And so the best chess opening that you can play is keep an equal position, trade everything off, get into an endgame, and that's where you'll win the game. Unless you're trying to get like some crazy tactics. So essentially what we're going to do here is, we're going to develop the bishop. If he takes here, we take. Then this is still defended. If he slides back, we're going to ruin his pawn structure. He gets a little bit of an open file right here. We're going to take this opportunity to trade. He's going to capture back with something. Most likely this pawn would make more sense. Okay, or you play like this. And he can castle this way. I can also castle this way. As it stands, I'm not really sure what is better. Something to note is this pawn is under a little bit of attack. So castling this way, it just becomes really scary. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take a step forward. I mean, this is defended twice, so no reason to panic. But I'm going to develop my queen. Now I have the possibility of castling this way. And I did it with tempo, attacking this pawn. And so essentially, if I attack this pawn and he comes over, I can get this pawn. He comes in here. I can hit him with a check. He has to step up or bring the rook back or something. It's not really always advisable to go pawn grabbing with your queen. So like this pretty much would, man, I'm bad at these arrows. If I capture here, it just walks directly into this. And then I got to step aside. And then he gets into my position. And his rook being here, because at that point he can just castle. And then attack my queen, like, I don't know. And then bring the rook, and then I got real problems. Real problems. But if he castles kingside, if he goes for the castle right now. Oh, my necklace is all messed up. Excellent move. Excellent move. He wants to get into my position. He'll be attacking a lot of different things. I think we're just going to push this forward so that this isn't scary anymore. His knight can get in. Oh, yes, that's true. But this is still an option. If I castle and then grab this, hard to say. Is he going to castle? If he castles this way, I'm castling this way. And what we're trying to do is just play simple chess. I don't think this entire game of chess I've played anything complicated. Like just pawns on light squares, bishop outside of the pawn chain, trade off the light square bishop because all of the pawns are on light squares. Go for a pawn break so I have a place to put my knight. Develop a piece. Trade. Develop a piece. Trade. Trade. So far, these are very easy moves. Castling this way just seems really scary because he's got these open files or semi-open files looking at my pawns. I somewhat like the idea of stepping back, guarding his knight infiltration. And then just same side castling. because I don't think my attack is all that great. Is it? I think we're going to just go with simple chess. We're going to step back. What you need to be worried about, yes, I can jump into his position. Actually, this comes with an immediate threat. It stops this, and it threatens this. That's probably the most reasonable move that we can play here. I'm not sure if that was a complicated move, but it does the same job of stepping back. That was the whole idea, was to guard this square from this knight jumping in, because once this knight jumps in, then I don't know, I just don't love it. But now I'm threatening this. And he can defend it. Now, how does he defend it? He defends it like this. But then I maybe bring my rook and I do castle this way. Because all of a sudden I have created a threat. This is a very, very real threat. Look at that. Everything, bro. We get the knight here, it's pretty much game over. There's no real reasonable way to get out of that. And then this seems actually fairly decent. And so we're just playing simple chess. Simple chess. So far, nothing super complicated. None of these moves. Oh, sorry, my back. My back hurts. I don't know if I already mentioned this. I went to the gym yesterday, and I did 275 for squat. And the time before that, I did 315 for my first time ever. And now my back hurts. That's how you know you're getting old. Okay. I think that this is the best move. Or this. Or this. This seems a little bit sketchy. He could kick me out. And my king is still in the center. And this doesn't work because I still hit you with a fork. So he has to defend this, essentially. And he can do it all of those different ways. Yeah. Yep, those are all the different ways he can do it. And so all that I don't like is I have not castled. And so once he does defend this and kicks my knight out, then all of a sudden this square becomes available for his knight. Okay, so he defends it like that. Very, very reasonable. Simple chess. You castled, I castled. Now we've got the kings on the same side of the board. So his little 4-on-3 pawn structure, I don't know how you want to even classify this. I've got 2 pawns. That is just a strange move. That is just a strange move. It still has the forking ideas. But I like the idea of bringing my rooks like this. But he's going for the... Ah, okay. It makes sense now. He's doing that so he can push this pawn so this one is defended. I guess I can slide over. I mean, that kind of would allow this. But I could step over. If this happens, then I get in. Because this cuts off the queen from seeing it. So this move actually maybe makes sense. One of these 2 moves. I suppose this one because I'm going to want my knight to go there. If something doesn't work out beautifully. So we're playing this. If he plays this, we take. If he pushes again, we come back to this square. And I'm cool with all that. And if we can grab a pawn, then we instantly try to trade everything in the position. And go into an endgame. And just win the endgame. My knight coming here is kind of the new idea. This fork is still not great. But essentially his rook on this square is a very weird, not great square for his rook. So if he's able to untangle, he's good to go. I need a little bit of water. This is your daily water break. Drink some water. Look how big this thing is. It's not a joke. And I put creatine in this thing. You want to trade off. Let's just play simple chess. Simple chess. Did I need to do that? No. I could have solidified it. I could have played more actively. Now I step forward and attack the rook and this pawn. I hope that made sense. We're attacking this rook. We're attacking this pawn. How do you defend both? Not sure, bro. I didn't even calculate that, but I just figured we get rid of the knights. I kind of thought he was going to step forward with the king was my what I thought. But this is all of a sudden the threat. And so what's probably going to happen is he does something with the rook. Probably this idea would become the next best thing. But once I grab this pawn, bro, once I grab that pawn, like I said, we grab a pawn and we trade everything off and we just win in the end game. And so we're also pressuring him a little bit on time. So I really like this. He had to waste a move. Now this rook is defended, but we're going to grab this pawn. If he tries to do something fancy, we're going to go into an endgame. If he steps forward, we get out of it with a check. If he... Okay, so he attacks this. This is under threat. Pushing this forward makes this pawn on the open file weak, so we're not going to do that. This is my least active piece. Like, this rook is kind of ready to participate. So we're going to just defend with this over here. And he can kind of, like, come forward with an idea like this. So pushing this pawn is probably going to make sense, because when the king moves and this happens, I'm going to have to move my queen, and I don't want to lose this pawn. Also with the idea of his rook getting into my 7th rank. Okay, so that is exactly what he's going for. We're going to give a check. So he moves. What if I just push forward? I can get out like this. So we push forward first. Check first. I mean, he can block like this, then this check, then he steps forward. Then I'm getting really close to getting trapped. So I think we're just going to push this forward. The rook is going to come. I'm going to slide out to the only available square. And we're going to play a game of chess from there. And he can't push this pawn to trap me in here. So definitely this is what's going to happen. We're going to slide out to the only move. Now this file is a little bit scary, but pushing that pawn made sense, because his rook getting in to my 7th rank like that, I pretty much just lose the game. I can also step forward like this, have ideas on this. I also have this check, potentially. He could centralize his queen, would probably be a great idea. Threatening this and this. So if he does play this, I probably have to step over. Okay. What to play, what to play. I think we're just going to kind of whittle. We're going to just whittle around. If his king goes this way, I'm going to also go this way. Is kind of what I'm thinking. Because it would make sense to move his king and bring this rook to support this pawn break to have this pin going on. I could also just move aside. But yeah, if he moves his king to the center, I'll just move my king to the center. Okay, so he wants something like this. And again, like I said, we kind of just need to make some moves. So I think I'm okay with this. 2 minutes against 4. As long as I don't make any crazy blunders, I'm just up a pawn. We trade off the queens. Rook gets active. Cool. And it's not so clear to me how I like push forward into the position. So we're just going to play a move. Probably this is going to be his idea, but I step forward with my king, bring my rook, and then push. Then go for a pawn break, and when he takes, I take with the rook. Okay, so generally what I'm seeing here is going into a king and pawn endgame where I can just be winning up a pawn. And he has like a kind of weird pawn structure over here. So if he brings the rook, I can bring the king. If he locks it down, I attack. If he takes, then I'm just chilling. Okay. I can also bring my rook here, because now this became an idea. So I can do two things. This type of sacrifice would equalize the game right now, and I would lose my entire advantage. So stepping forward with the king, let's go with the defense of this, and blocks the rook. So stepping over like this makes more sense. Then I push. I think this is the more flexible move, where if he takes, I take. No, it's just not going to work anymore, because now this is defended, so this whole idea doesn't work. This would have also worked, because take. So if I go in, take, and I think we're just chilling. We push forward. He's going to step back. I push, take. That's weird. But if I push in here, take, take, take. So it's not going to work immediately. So if I bring my king to this square, it does work. And we're going to do so like this. If he pushes forward, this rook no longer sees this square, so then it does work. So take, and I could even take with the rook at that point. And if he takes, then my rook gets active. He's getting dangerously low on time, which I don't want to let him lose on time, because playing this up a pawn rook endgame is very important. So he's going for this, but I'm okay with it. So we're just going to step forward. If he goes for this, we just take, take, take. Rook gets in. If I go for this, then take, take. Ooh, scary. But okay, so now this works, right? I've got enough things looking at it. Here, 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 here. No more calculation. We're going for it. Uh-huh. And now this is the moment of truth. My king is touching this square. If he doesn't take, I push forward with check, and then my extra pawn becomes a passed pawn. So we're going to do this. We take. If he takes, we take, take, and then my king is in the center. So potentially this has, we have the potential to trade off everything in the position. He can run away and keep the rook on the board. That's the best move. That was the worst move. I'm very close to just coming in. I think we just go ahead and play a pawn move. You got to be careful here. These pawns suck. So what if I go like this? We play this first to take away this idea. Don't worry, I won't let him lose on time. But I do want him to play quickly. 2. Okay, he played a move. Not sure. This is my extra pawn, but this is a weird structure. So now I can't actually get into the position. If I play this, he just pushes, but then I can step over. So I'm going to play this first. I gave him time. I almost let him just lose on time right there. Now do I step over? If he steps in, we do some stuff over here. I think it's kind of interchangeable. I think we're just going to push this. And the general idea is to trade off the pawns. We're trying to just trade off these pawns here. We push. If he pushes here, I take. What if I just go for this? He steps in. I think we go for this. He takes, I take. He's kind of slow on getting in, so I push this pawn. Right? He could stop it. But if the king leaves this file, I can distract him. He resigned. Okay, so generally what's going to happen here is, say he steps back, I step forward. If he blocks this pawn, I go for this one. And at some point, I can just push this pawn. And once this one's gone, we're good to go. And so that was a super simple, easy game of chess. It took 20 minutes. I think I played fairly accurate. Let's fly through this real quick. Was there anything I missed? We play the easiest opening known to man. Trade off the light square bishop. Pawns are on light squares. Make a pawn break. Put the knight on a natural square. Knight on a piece comes to our side of the board. We get rid of it. Trade off equally. Trade equally. His position is a little bit funky at this point. Now that the rooks don't see each other, it's very unadvisable to play a move like this. You don't want to make a rook on the side of the board to defend a pawn push to attack a knight. It's just not a good use of a rook, and because of it, this rook became undefended. Now, how would it have worked? Yeah, if I would have just taken here and he stepped forward with the king, that is kind of what I thought was going to happen, then this whole idea didn't work. And so he took with the queen. I didn't like that move because I felt like getting the king off the back rank just made more sense. I didn't even see the whole tactic of this, but whatever. We grabbed a pawn, and then we just slowly started advancing things. And so we completely dedicated ourselves to this pawn push. We brought the king, so now we have a pawn, 2 rooks, and a king looking at this square. And basically, this offers the trade of those rooks. He could have stayed in the game by just sliding all the way back. That is what he should have done. And so it's still, I'm slightly winning. But once he trades here, then I'm up a pawn with a ruined pawn structure. So I'm still winning even if he plays this. But when he captures, he's guaranteed to lose. If you keep a rook on the board, you've got checks, you've got different ideas, you can very easily go up some pawns. But once he trades off, and this is the position, he's screwed. There's nothing that he can do. And so let's check it with the computer and see how accurate that actually was. I hope that that was a simple, easy to digest way to play chess. And so we're going to check out the computer. I'll see you over there. And here we are in the analysis, and oh boy, I played a very accurate game. And so it was all just came from playing simple, easy to find moves. Nothing crazy, no crazy tactics, nothing like that. And we just get up a pawn and we're good to go. And so if we look at the graph, we can see this was generally just a slow conversion. There was one tactic that I missed where I was going to lose a pawn. So he had an opportunity to go up a pawn as well. But then once I go up this pawn, we just traded things off equally. Here it says that I threw it away to a draw, but I'm going to be straight up with you. It wasn't a draw. It sometimes says that when it's like a king and 1 rook or whatever, and I have an extra pawn. It's still a draw, but I'm going to let you know that like 90% of the time, neither of us are going to be able to play perfectly, and it ends up in a draw. So one mistake will be made, and it's no longer a draw. So it will say that sometimes. But if it's rooks and pawns, or like even like a knight and pawns or something, it's hard to play it 100% accurate, so it's actually a draw from both of our ends. And so the easiest chess opening known to man, we put the pawns on light squares, we develop the bishop, we close the pawn chain, we're good to go. All of these moves incredibly simple. We trade this off because we put all of the pawns on light squares. All right, I've explained that like 4 times. I'm not going to explain it again, but we have pawns on light squares. We trade off the light square bishop, okay? Then we push this. It's not the greatest move, but whatever. We have a place to put our knight. Not there, but there. Okay, we developed the knight. That's why we pushed the pawn. Then we develop this knight. We take, and I step forward attacking this. Now, the reason that it doesn't work is I step in. If he takes, if I take with the queen, he can take here, and I can't take back this pawn. Because if I do, he hits me with this, and then I'm losing. So I would lose the bishop. So essentially, if all of that happened and he captures this pawn, I just can't take it. I just have to step back, and he's up a pawn. And so that was his opportunity to see all of that, and he didn't. So we trade this off equally. Maybe I should show the best moves. We trade in the middle. We get active with our queen. We're attacking something. Even if I had the opportunity to grab this pawn, I don't think I was going to do it because it's just too risky. We then push this forward. Best move. I'm supposed to castle this way and just be brave, but I don't. I jump my knight into the middle of the board. Probably a strong second for the best moves. Okay, now it is the best move. It's just directly threatening something. He defends like he has to. And now his rook is kind of passive, and this rook is kind of silly as well. And so we castle this way. He pushes his rook here. It's one of the best moves. But from a human standpoint, it's weird to use your rook to defend this pawn so that you can push this pawn. It's just a strange setup. This rook is not very well defended. This rook is not very well defended. The whole setup, like all of this is trying to deal with one knight. Okay, so that sucks. He literally has 13 points of material over here fighting against my 3. So that sucks. So he steps back and I take. And if he would have just taken with the king, it's completely equal. But if he takes with the king, it's equal. If he takes with the queen, he loses a pawn. And so I would have just played this because we're going into an endgame, and so at this point, you probably want to start bringing your king to the middle of the board and just like, whatever. The king is doing nothing over here, and you probably want it out of the way so that the rooks can come over behind your pawns, okay? He takes like this, and how long did this take? It took me 6 seconds to find this move. Now, did I calculate that? No, but I figured this is an equal trade, whatever. And that he takes with the wrong piece, and there we go. We have a tactic. We attack 2 things at once. He's got to do something about it. We grab the pawn. He gets active, plain and simple. We defend our weakness that's being attacked. He steps forward. Now, I could have played a multitude of different moves, and they are all still -1 for the opponent. So I push this pawn first, allowing this attack to step out, but now this is defended by the other pawn. Putting his queen in the middle of the board was guaranteed the best move because I can't really push this. So this is undefended. I'd have to step back over and defend this. That would have been the best move. He's still losing, but it would have been the best move. We then defend this. Why is she trading off pieces, bro? Something that you don't want to do. You're down a pawn. Don't trade off your most powerful piece. Try to keep it on the board. If anything, trade off the rooks and keep the queens, because then you're more likely to get a draw. Like a queen down a pawn, you're good to go. But like a rook down a pawn, it's harder to play. The queen is harder to play, so it's harder to play by both, so it's less likely to be a draw. The rooks are a little bit easier to play, so it's more likely to be a draw, but it's still probably not going to be a draw. So we play all these moves. We step forward. My whole idea is just put everything in my position to make this pawn push a possibility, so we trade some stuff off. So we make it happen. Now, it says I'm throwing it away to a draw because take, and he has this pawn push, where I push this forward with check, the king blocks, then I have to do this. And it's still a draw. They're saying that it's a draw, but I'm letting you know right now, probably not. Probably not, because he has to play 100% perfectly, and it's still 0.2, okay? So it's just not going to happen. I'm up a pawn, and it's a supported, defended, passed pawn. So his king has to stay here, or like whatever. So the computer says all of that was not a great idea. The reason that I'm playing this is because everything that happened is what happened. Because I'm not playing against a computer, I'm playing against a human, and I know how humans are going to play, and I can anticipate what's going to happen. So we take, boom, boom, and this is the moment of truth. You keep the rook on the board. Trading the rooks means that he loses the game. Plain and simple. You trade the rooks, you lose the game. Now you have a ruined pawn structure against my okay pawn structure. Against this is equal, but I have an extra pawn. So we're in a king and pawn endgame where I'm up a pawn and you have a bad pawn structure and you're losing. Every time you're losing. If you run away, you're still probably losing, but you have a better chance at not losing. That's all there is to it. Like, you keep the rook on the board. So all that happens, he trades off. We're in this position. Now, this is something instructive here. The reason we're pushing here and playing a5 is to stop his advancements of this, okay? So imagine if I play this. Then he gets to play this, locking down my whole position. I can't push this anymore, he just takes. So his one pawn is stopping my two pawns. It's called a deep freeze, and that sucks. So we don't want this to happen. Because if you see the valuation here, -4, if I play this and he gets this move, it's -1.8. So kind of a little bit in depth, but we play this first so that we can play other moves and not get stuck in this deep freeze. We trade off some pawns, we push this, and I'm pretty much ready to just launch forward. We go ahead and do it. Now it's completely equal here, it's completely equal here. All that's left is I have a passed pawn. And so at some point I can abandon my passed pawn and let him capture it and go for one of these guys. So most likely what's going to happen here, he resigned, but most likely what's going to happen, we push our passed pawn. If he steps over, we step here. He's got to make a move. We just come back. He's got to make a move. If he steps in, we're going like this, and the pawn is passed. If he steps back, we step in. If he blocks, we push again. If he steps back, we step in. If he goes here, we go here. He's got to do something. If he goes here, we're just going to make a pass pawn. So even if there was a way for, like, I don't know how to explain this. Say it was my move. Say it was my move in this position. I just run. And he grabs this, but I get this. And then this is my new passed pawn. So that's like a distraction pawn tactic. You can always do that in king and pawn endgames because the king can only do so much. So if there's pawns far away like this and one passed pawn, it's like you just push the passed pawn, push your passed pawn over here, the king goes over to take it, and then you push this one and you're good to go and you win the game of chess. And I hope that was super simple and educational for everybody. That was fun to play. I don't know if I went through the accuracy, but I made one inaccuracy, one mistake, 95% accurate, and our opponent played 87% accurate. So that's the easiest opening you can possibly ever play in chess, and that's how it works and wins. So just play simple c6, bro, c6, and you'll win every game. So thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I love you. I'll see you guys next time, and I've scheduled a bunch of videos for this week, so stay tuned.